Getting into the game, though, we have the Mihawk on the right side, which I believe was the... Ooh. So both Mihawks are playing Wano Mihawk. I was fucking right. This is the correct version of the deck. Let's go. But we do see, interestingly, a card that we didn't see in the other Wano Mihawk's deck, and that is going to be the 5-cost Smoker that we've been talking about so much as a potential tech card. We're going to see it in this game. Much better when you're going first. That's the other card that you want to just play raw on 5 Dong because it doesn't answer anything. It's just a standard, very good play. And he is going to have that 5-cost Mihawk in his hand as well as the 6-cost Mihawk, fucking 5-cost Smoker in his hand. I shouldn't swear, I'm sorry. He has the 5-cost Smoker in his hand, he has the 6-cost Mihawk in his hand, and he's going first. So he has a pretty solid curve set up for him. The only thing that he doesn't have is a good searcher for this early game. He does have the cards that he needs, but especially in Mihawk, you do want some of those smaller characters on the board just to become fodder for your leader effect, or, for example, bouncing them back to your hand for things like the 6-cost Law. So is not going to play down that Zoro. Probably going to try to use it on this next turn to just to deal with the opponent's characters, hoping the opponent only plays down one cost character. Does see the Kiemon, didn't see what the rest of his hand looks like, but may elect to pick that up. Does pick up the Kiemon, so we'll be able to develop that on this first turn. We'll be able to rest the leader, because it has the slash type, to gain that 2-draw 1 trash. So a powerful start from Taiki, our Wano Mihawk representative, going second here. Ooh, interesting. People don't know what dong means. It's a Japanese has sounds for... I don't know if they're called onomatopoeias. It's like pow in comics, you know? Whoosh, pow, thud. It's basically pow. It's just like the power sound, you know? So it's because it's lots of power noises. You add a lot of power. So you're adding power, you're playing down powerful characters. So dong. It's just the sound. You could basically just call them POW cards if you wanted to be American comic-y about it. Yeah, Mihawk going first decides not to play down that 1-cost Zoro, thinks it's not worth it to get rid of one character when there's another one on the board, holds on to it. It's just going to hurt when it comes to that leader effect because you have nothing to rest. But if he can find something on this next turn, though, he will be able to play down that 5-cost Smoker, use that 1 extra dong to play down something should he draw it. But right now, not seeing it, and it's a crazy amount of 1-cost in this search, but picks up the 5-cost Olden in this matchup. Don't really know how it's going to end up going, to be honest, but these mid-sized characters are going to be very important, especially as it seems like both these players, at least as far as we've seen, Taiki on the left side has not had Luna, as far as we can tell. So being able to spread out your board wide may be somewhat relevant when it comes to the mirror. Ooh, but that is going to be Luna on the right side, though. So has the Smoker, has the Luna, also has a 1-cost now in that Kiemon. But if he plays down that Kiemon for the search, would have to rest his leader. Means that he would lose an attack. So I have to think about what he actually values more. But I think it's probably worth it, though he doesn't get that extra 6,000 power attack into the opponent's leader. Does really need to develop some of those 1-costs to get his leader effect rolling. Oh, no, it decides not to use it, it seems. So is just going to use leader effect, swing 8,000 after playing down the Smoker and passing turn. Electing that, getting the damage into leader is just far too important, which I think is fair. When you have 3 extra on your disposal, you have nothing to do with it. But yeah. Decides to go for the hit and is probably going to look to play down that 1-cost Kiemon next turn. Because he will have 7 dong at his disposal. Still not great, because you'd have to rest an extra dong for that effect. What's Redditor Mihawk? Yeah, there's the... This is why you probably want to go second in this matchup now, because so many of these green cards are reactionary. So even though this 5-cost Smoker is probably the single best card that you could play on that 5-dong turn, if the opponent can respond with Mihawk into Olden, which we've seen him consistently do game after game, top 8, top 4, and now in the finals, that Smoker, despite being a 7,000 power, despite being banished, will not be able to have any relevance for the foreseeable future if he can keep stunning this card. And I mean, looking at his hand, he will be able to control it for quite a while. Hasu, our green shirt, green Mihawk player, does have... Oh, shoot. No, he doesn't have it. Oh. Oh, no. So he's gonna play down the Kiemon, rest one more dong, so he's not even entertaining the possibility of playing down that 6-cost Mihawk anymore. And actually was a good call, because there was no 5-cost. But this means it's even worse, because he's just gonna miss out on playing on a turn, and the Mihawk player going second is just gonna get another turn to just freely develop. Now, thankfully, he does have another Kiemon, so he can play down the second Kiemon and then use You Can Be My Samurai to just accumulate a massive amount of resources. But this is really bad right now because he's wasn't able to develop on a turn that he desperately needed to. So now Mihawk going second is just always going to be one turn ahead despite being second. Chrono Search is 20 euro? God. I complain about Japanese market, but I feel bad for you guys as well. Oof. Oh, that's true. He could play... That's my bad, yeah. If he used the smoker effect, then he could resend one dong to play out the 5 costs. That is actually what he was looking for. I forgot about that. Thank you. Tramp engine. But is just going to play down the Mihawk with nothing after that, unfortunately. Doesn't even choose to play down one of the smaller characters that he has at his disposal, just choosing to use his leader as an attacker on this turn. But brutal, brutal turn of events despite getting that Kiemon in time, not able to find the follow-up for that 6-cost Mihawk. So Smoker's effect, you cannot restand Dong through character effects, but because your Mihawk leader is a leader, your leader effect can still activate. So you can use your Smoker effect before your leader effect and still be fine, and also allows you to play down characters before your leader effect. So there's some interesting windows if you have that 5-cost Smoker on the board. Fortunately, wasn't able to find it despite his efforts. Ooh. Now it's going to be a pretty uphill battle for green shirt Mihawk. That's how I'm going to differentiate them. White shirt versus green shirt. Just going to start swinging the opponent's leader. It's easily going to get rid of those 2,000 power characters as well, just because white shirt Mihawk was able to develop so many of them early on. Resting them is not going to be a huge deal because not only do you have those cards to be able to bounce back with things like that 6-cost Law, which he may choose to play on this board. Seems like one of the best turns that you can play. But also he can use it for his leader effect as well. Just infinite value when it comes to Green Mihawk having these smaller characters on the board, especially if you're running this Wano Mihawk, because you can use them as fodder for that event as well to just get that +1 in your hand, resting 2 characters and drawing 2 cards. So just going to keep asking questions, seeing if the opponent has the 2Ks in his hand, which he surely does, but just trying to get his hand thinner and thinner. The one saving grace that I'll say in this game, although this is a really bad spot for green shirt Mihawk right now, is that he's running Luna, and as far as we've seen so far, white shirt Mihawk does not. Though he does run all out, that only stuns 2 of the opponent's characters. Luna will be able to stun everything, and we saw in the Red-Green Luffy match that can be very scary. Now, is white shirt Mihawk going to play around that to some extent? Looking at his board, he isn't really in a position where he needs to necessarily quite yet. But if green shirt Mihawk can find a couple of those Lunas, chain them together while successfully building up his board over the next couple of turns, then he may be able to do something. The one issue, though, is that generally on this next turn, you do want to play something like the 5-cost, or the 6-cost Trafalgar Law, or the 6-cost Dracula Mihawk into a 5-cost. But if you don't have either one of those pieces, it's going to be very hard to draw it in the next couple of cards. But he may feel forced to take one of these next attacks just to hope that he can find one of those cards soon. But I think optimally, there's even really something great that you could do here. If you find a Pit on the Searcher, and you go Pit on the Searcher into one of those cards, play down the Kiemon, that's 3 dong, then you have 6 dong left to play down one of those cards. Hopefully you can find them from those 3 draws, for example. But I think he's probably forced to take at least one of these attacks just so that he can find something that he can play on this next turn. Thinking about this first 8k attack, now there is the risk of this next attack from leader being even bigger as there's still 6 dong active. That means that the opponent wouldn't be developing as well, so it's unlikely considering that it's exactly 6 dong as well. But still, starting with 8k to see how the opponent responds, and see if he's too afraid to take that attack in fear of an even larger attack on the next turn as he's on the back foot. And says he's going to think about it a little bit. Yeah. So interestingly, because both of the opponent's leaders are slash, they're both 6,000 power. So not relevant when it comes to leader attacking leader, but when it comes to the characters attacking character or characters attacking leader, then it does actually end up becoming relevant. But still, most of the characters in this deck are 6,000 power or higher. So that's going to be just a great spot. The second ult in from White Shirt Mihawk, coming off of that Trafalgar Law as well. It's also going to bounce back one of those one-cost searchers to his hand as well, just being extremely efficient. Has a massive hand right now. Massive board, massive hand. It's looking really brutal for Green Mihawk. Yeah, and that Mihawk's not even going to be able to get the one draw, one trash now on this next turn because it's not going to be able to be rested. This is one of the interesting dynamics of the mirror, is that not being able to rest your characters usually means that you can't attack with them and you can't block with them, but in the mirror, it also means that you can't use your leader effect on them. So that means you don't get the one draw, one trash from Mihawk. It doesn't mean that you get the resting effect from the 7-cost Shanks. You can't get the stunning effect from the 9-cost Mihawk. A lot of things get very awkward when you run these types of stunning cards in the mirror. So the mirror, lots of interesting dynamics that are unique to the mirror, but it seems, at least as far as this game's gone, that going second in the mirror has been pretty devastating. Now, unfortunately, our green shirt Mihawk representative was not able to find a 5-cost on that 6-tone, 7-tone turn, but still, even if he found that, it wouldn't necessarily be that much better of a situation just because the second player has been able to chain those 5-cost ult-ins, denying that 5-cost smoker from getting anything done. Yeah, one of the scary things. So, Green Blue Luffy does well into Mihawk, but it does worse into Red Green Luffy. So in OP's 16.5, Green Blue Luffy has gained one good matchup and gained one bad matchup. So it kind of comes down to the play rate of those decks for how good Green Blue Luffy is. One deck that has gained 2 good matchups is Black Yellow Teach, because Mihawk as well as Red Green Luffy are 2 pretty good matchups. Green Mihawk is slightly closer to even, but still winning for Teach. And Red Green Luffy, they can't use their leader effect. It's devastating for Red Green Luffy against Black Yellow Teach. So Black Yellow Teach in a much better position, and we saw it was the second most represented deck in the tournament. Did not make top cut though. Mihawk 3 decks in top cut, and it only lost to the mirror. There were 3 in the top 4, lost once in the mirror, and now there are 2 in the finals, duking it out. And it seems like the star of the show today, our white shirt Mihawk representative, who's been on every single stream game that we've had from top 8, is in a very comfortable position right now. And he's going for leader, yeah. So decides that there's no chance that he can actually win the game by going for board. Is going to use the banish to his fullest extent. 10,000 power into the opponent's leader with banish. And he really doesn't want to take this attack, but if he counters it seems like the only countervent in his hand is Deadman's Game. If I'm correct, it's hard to tell what that card next to Deadman's Game is, but he would have to give that Deadman's Game as well as a 2k counter if he wants to defend this. Oh no, sorry, it's 6k power leader. So yeah, no, just decides to take it. Doesn't want to give up the counter. Wants to hold on to that Deadman's Game, I guess, when he goes for lethal. And there's going to be the Luna. This is one of the outs that he has in this game. Going to stun the opponent's entire board. And if he can chain these Lunas, might not be in a terrible position. But one scary thing, though, is that Mihawk going second is going to be knocking on the door of 10 Dong. That Lon Beppo is going to be very scary as well. Yeah, we'll see. I'm just talking, guys. I see in chat that you guys are talking about how quick this is for Green Mihawk. I'm talking about the options that he has, the ways that he has back into this game. It would be boring if I were to just say he'd be like, "Yep, it's over. Let's just wait for it to end slowly." It's still a very bad spot for Green Mihawk on the right side, but oh my god, this is such a devastating hand. Oh, yeah, it's all out in his hand. So, I mean, 2 cards that he doesn't really want to give up necessarily. decides to just take the banish sack to his face, going down to 1 life. That Trafalgar is now going to be a blocker, but I mean, that all out could be used on this turn. Does he have a way to get rid of... Oh no, he doesn't need to. I think you probably just play 10 cost Law and Beppo, you stun the opponent's Mihawk, I imagine? Yeah. And you have a blocker up for the Smoker. Even still, you still have 1 life. But yeah, you stun the opponent's only other relevant character on the board, and even though you don't have very many attackers on the board, your board is still extremely threatening, so the opponent can't chain Lunas, and it's going to be very, very scary. One good thing, though, as we keep talking about the small outs that Green Shirt Mihawk has, is that he does actually have the second Luna in his hand. Now, it would do... It's actually better than all out in this current situation because there are 3 rested 7 cost or less characters on the board in 2 Oldens as well as that Mihawk. So can still stall the game, but his hand is getting thinner and thinner. These attacks are just going to keep getting bigger and bigger, and the opponent's leader now 8,000 power on the opponent's turn. So going to be very difficult to actually make these attacks matter. And there it is, the all out, which is going to stun the opponent's characters, and now both players' boards are massive, but none of them can attack effectively. Mihawk can do basically the exact same thing back at him, playing down the Law and Beppo, stunning 1 character, and then using Luna, which, honestly, not a bad play, but it does feel like he's 1 turn behind. It's the only play that he has at his disposal, though, so that's going to be 10 dong for the Law and Beppo. Yes, Purple Alligator is correct. That was the top 8. This is a relatively small tournament, so there's only top 8 top cut. Law and Beppo, making your leader 7,000 power, stunning the opponent's Law and Beppo so that he can't use that 11,000 power attacker. Resting the Kikundojo to get that 3 dong active. Also, with the Smoker effect, he does have 1 extra dong, which slowly and steadily becomes a little bit more relevant because it's going to be 9,000 into 8,000 instead of 8 into 8, forcing it 2k instead of a 1k. And then there it is, Electrical Luna. White shirt Mihawk laughing a little bit to himself. Fuck, I don't even run this card and it's cooking me. He's trying his best. All of the opponent's board right now, aside from that Trafalgar Law, is going to be stunned. And now, the question maybe in his mind is, does Green Shirt Mihawk have another one? Because even though his hand is small, all of these attackers on White Shirt Mihawk's board are not really relevant right now. Doesn't want to rest that Trafalgar Law either, but he thankfully does have another Law and Beppo. Just going to stun the Law and Beppo, and this is just going to be what both players are going to be doing until the game is over, unless one finds an angle to break through something like Deadman's Game. But unfortunately, Deadman's Game is going to be at the disposal of White Shirt Mihawk, but not Green Shirt Mihawk. Regardless, though, all these characters being stunned are going to be very tricky to overcome. Don't think he has another all-out, though, in his hand, though. So while his leader is 8,000 power, those characters on the board are going to be able to restand. And he's trying his best, despite having a miserable start. Tasu, it's cool that you can read that. Shout out to you if you can read the Japanese. Tasu, the green shirt Mihawk, trying his best, has somewhat fought back in terms of number of characters on the board. Still not quite there when you compare everything, but in green mirrors becomes less and less relevant as you start to stun everything. But these Lawn Beppos, you can only stun 1 Lawn Beppo with 1 Lawn Beppo, so getting 2 on the board means that one of them is going to become an attacker on this next turn. So basically, for Tasu right now, he has to decide either he has to go for lethal on this turn right now, or he needs to find a way to survive. Looking at his hand, though, it's unlikely. I think that basically, mathematically, he should be dead on this next turn, because he doesn't have the Luna. Even if he plays down, the Lawn Beppo goes up to 7,000 power. The opponent has a Lawn Beppo. The opponent has a lot of attacks on their board. You may be able to trick the opponent into thinking that they don't have lethal if you leave a couple of Dong active. So that might be the only avenue that he has into this game. Just make your leader 8,000 power, pass back the turn with a couple of Dong active, and sit there like, guess how many countervents I have in my hand. And hope that he doesn't actually go for your face, but these players have just been going for face the entire game, so I don't know if that bluff's going to end up working. Tasu may just like to go for lethal here if all of his options feel like they're cooked. is going to go 7,000, is it? Into the 8,000 power leader, just for the one draw, one trash. Maybe just looking for any event that could help him, but is not going to see it. Was likely hoping to find something like that Dead Man's Game, but not going to be what he wanted in the end. Does see a 2k, but probably, I haven't done the math, but unless those two cards in his life are counter events, it's looking kind of tricky. Wait, still though, 8,000 power leader is very big. I think that you probably... Oh, he went into board. Okay, no, that's my bad. I thought he went into leader, because the caster said leader. So, yeah, he went 7 into the board. The issue with going into the board with the smoker again is that you're not really making progress. But because that Dracula Mihawk, 6-cost Mihawk on the board is 7,000 power, you probably are incentivized to just hit into that. And then try to recalibrate, try to go for lethal turn after that. He might just want to play down, it looks like he's going for 10-cost Lan Beppo first, then restand the Dong cards and spread out his Dong evenly between that Smoker and Mihawk, just give himself the best odds of trying to take out that 6-cost Mihawk. Now, though Mihawk does run a lot of counter events, whether it's Dead Man's Game or All Out, the unfortunate thing about that card, unfortunate depending on your point of view, is that they can only protect your leader, meaning that even though White Shirt Mihawk has Tudong at his disposal, a lot of that Tudong is fake. So he's going to go 9,000, I believe, into that 7,000 power Mihawk. And if Taiki, the White Shirt Mihawk, wants to keep this Mihawk... Lots of Mihawks, I'm sorry. If he wants to keep this Mihawk alive on the board, he's going to have to expend a lot of counter. But now, the question has been asked to Taiki. Are you going to try to end the game next turn, or are you going to try to play another turn? If he wants to play another turn, then he should just let this Mihawk die, play down the third Lan Beppo, and just try to survive another turn. But if he wants to go for lethal, then he needs this Mihawk on the board, basically. Now he does have that 6-cost Trafalgar Law as well. He just needs to decide if he needs to go for lethal on this next turn. You see that the opponent's potentially going to leave up a couple of Dong. You don't know how much counter is going to be in the hands, and because you have Dead Man's Game, you feel incentivized maybe to go for lethal, especially since the opponent doesn't have a blocker on the board either. But he may just be able to survive. The opponent's board is not all too threatening, but the one thing is just one Dead Man's Game could end out the game. So there's lots of things that can make you really fearful of the situation. Is going to let it go against Purple Alligators, which is in chat. So is going to let it go, which basically means that he's going to play down that next 10-cost Lan Beppo and survive one more turn and go for lethal the turn after that. Now, not even going to leave up any Dong to bluff, because that character is now gone. No more threat. 10,000 power to the opponent's leader, which, to be fair, right now is 8,000 power. This is awkward, though. It was 9 into 7, now it's 10 into 8. It's the same amount of counter required, but this one has Banish. Probably doesn't want to give up that Trafalgar Law so easily, just because you know that there's an 11,000 power minimum attack on the horizon. So would probably have to counter this out of hand. Then the question is, maybe you should have just countered out that Flash attack. But still, if the opponent gives counter to protect the 6-cost Mihawk, and the opponent goes for leader anyways, and you don't have the counter for that, then it can get awkward. But his hand is relatively healthy. Really, though, I think that this is just... He thinks that he's going to be able to survive and win on the next turn with the third 10-cost Lan Beppo. So... Okay. Yeah, there's no active Dong, so just decides to use the Dead Man's Game. I mean, Schwartz, I'm going to call you Schwartz, I'm sorry, because I don't know if I'm saying the second part of that correctly. Schwartz says that he should go for life, but that Lan Beppo is still rested, which means that if he wants to go for leader, he needs every single attack to go through. Still not impossible, just because he only has 3 cards in his hand, so he can potentially test, for example, with an 8K attack to see if that goes through, and then from there, sort of, oh no, he's 8K leader. It's really hard to break through. I don't think it's possible. I keep forgetting he's 8K leader right now. Like, if you want to try to go for lethal, you have to start with something like the 10 or 11K at leader, but the rest of your attacks cannot become significantly bigger. So if opponent just has any semblance of counter in his hand, then he should be able to survive, which he does because he's an 8K leader. So basically, he has to play down the 10 cost Long Beppo. He has to survive one more turn. But looking at his hand, though, he, I believe, didn't have any all-outs left unless he drew one very recently, and he used the Dead Men's game as well. Let's see. Here's the third Long Beppo. There's probably in this game alone, we've said Long Beppo 18 times, Mihawk probably 25 times. But there's going to be Long Beppo instantly going to be the target of the leader effect, restanding 3 dong, making your leader 8,000 power. And does have the You Can Be My Samurai, not going to be relevant. It's just going to be a brick, actually, at this point in the game. He could also go for a board as well, is going to go for it. Both leaders who were, for the longest time, going for leader, just deciding to switch all aggression onto the board now that the leaders are 8,000 power with these Lon Beppo power increases. Again, in this mirror, because the opponent's leader has slash, you become base 6,000 power, and then with that Lon Beppo, you are 8,000 power. So 8,000 versus 7,000 power, you just want to get rid of these smaller attacks to make it hard for them to go for lethal. Now what he's basically trying to do is to extinguish all of the chances the opponent has of going for lethal and just go for lethal turn after that. I think this is a relatively safe play, even though there's the risk of something like Dead Men's game, resting your Trafalgar Law blocker. One of those characters are rested, decides not to go for the 6-cost Mihawk. Oh no! Oh no! Wait. So, I think he should have just went for board, but because he didn't, there's the Luna trigger. Oh no, what is he doing? What is he doing? No, he has so much damage on the board. He doesn't need to go for leader, I think. He has so much damage. The opponent basically told you he doesn't have counter in that last turn, but he goes for leader to try to just guarantee that he has lethal the next turn. Now he doesn't have a blocker, meaning that even though Tasa, who doesn't have Deadman's game, would have been he would have struggled with this blocker, no longer has to worry about it because that electrical Luna trigger is able to rest any character on the board. Oh no. Oh no. 8,000 power leader. He has one of his Lon Beppos locked. I need to get Dong cards out to calculate this. I'm sorry, I should have been prepared more. Fuck, I have NL Dong. It's only 6 Dong. What am I doing? My NL deck's on my desk. I think regardless, Tessa just has to go for it on this turn. He took that last life, so he's mathematically dead on the turn after this. He has to go for lethal. And the question is going to be, does he have enough into this 8,000 power Mihawk leader? Let me get out some substitutes for Dong cards, because I only have my NL Dong on my desk right now. 10 Dong at his disposal. He can restand a couple, but he doesn't have anything to play to get that Dong rested, so it is just going to be a pure 10 Dong. This can be 11, 11, 11. You can go... I think this is actually good. So if you try to make a staircase, you go 10, 11, 12. But the 10 is much easier to defend because the opponent's at 8,000 power right now. If you go 12, the opponent has to give you a +3 and a +2 or take it. If the opponent ends up countering this, you can go slightly lower potentially. Though it's a little bit risky, so you might just spread out his Dong. But basically, this forces the opponent to counter out this attack. Because if you don't counter out this attack, then you have an extra 14 Dong. Not 14, I'm sorry, what the hell am I saying? 9 Dong they can attach to your 6-cost Mihawk and swing for 16,000 at the leader. So just makes the next attack much bigger. So this first 12,000 power attack is a lot more threatening than if you were to start with 10, for example, because that would have just been absorbed very easily with something like a Dead Men's game +3k. Regardless, Tasa, the green shirt Mihawk, has to go for lethal on this turn. So he's playing to the best of his advantage. This 12k hit, making Taiki think a lot about what he wants to do in the situation. 9 dong left at his disposal. So if hypothetically he defends this attack, you have 9 dong, which can be separated onto your characters. You go something like 10 and then, oh, it'd be, his leader's 6k, it'd be 10, 12. Interesting. So decides to take that 12. I think he's mathed out that he can protect the 16,000 into the 8,000 power leader. But I think because he started with that 12k swing, he basically is forced to go for it. And looking at his hand, I mean, that's a 2k, 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 1k, 1k. And I think that's another 2k in his hand. It's just an insane amount of counter. Yeah. Nah, it seems like Taiki is going to be safe here, but Hase doesn't know that yet. Still has a little bit of hope left in the game, and he's trying his best after a really terrible start. He's going to go for it. 16,000 into the opponent's 8,000 power leader. The last hope that he has in this game. Oh. This is the last attack of the game, but I should mention we are at 0 on the time. Oh, I should just leave my thing here. I'll do that from next time. Time is up, so now we are at extra time. Both players get 2 turns each, starting 0, 1, 2, 3, so that it always ends on the player going second. And still 16,000 into the opponent's 8,000 power leader. That's 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1. Definitely going to defend this. Just has an abnormal amount of counter in his hand because he's been able to hoard these cards for the entirety of the game. Still has a 1k counter left in his hand. 6k into the opponent's Trafalgar Law. Just trying to do the best he can, but that's going to be defended as well. Insult to injury. This is going to be White Shirt Mihawk, the champion of this championship, who has been on stream every single game, taking it home from top 8 to the finals. 11, 11, and that's going to be the end. Against everyone's expectation, Mihawk won the finals.